URC Conferences, folks. Which one kind of had the best record against the others? We know from the way the URC is structured, you end up playing a big chunk of your games against teams from your own conference. But what about the kind of head-to-head aspects of things? How did the Welsh go up against the South Africans this year? How did the Irish go up against the Scots? We'll go through them quickly, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. I am going to split off the kind of two Scottish teams and two Italian teams just for a bit of perspective. But yeah, as I said, you guys let us know your thoughts and see if any of this leads to any kind of bright ideas onto what might happen with the final between the Stormers and Munster. We'll start with the Italians. Obviously, neither of the teams made the playoffs. They didn't have great years, especially Zebre, who went winless. They went none from 8 against the South African teams. That is the only 0% record of kind of any head-to-head conference record in the URC. Like, no Italian team in all of those games trying managed to get a result against the South Africa team. Like, they got results against the Welsh, Irish and Scots, but nobody else. There was one win against an Irish team. That was Benetton beating Ulster. Obviously, it was Benetton because Zebre didn't get any results. One away win in Wales of their 3 wins, a couple of away ones, and then a couple of home wins against the 2 Scottish sides when they visited Benetton. But yeah, not that much to shout about, sadly, for the Italians. Fingers crossed Zebre will kind of up their game next year with a bunch of young guys having had a bit of experience. For the Scots on the other half of that conference, a bit of a mixed bag again. It was similar to Zebre and Benetton, and that Glasgow had a good season and Edinburgh had a bad season. Edinburgh's season wasn't quite as bad as Zebre's, but Glasgow's season was better than Benetton's, with Glasgow at least making the knockout stages. They did get a couple of wins against the South African teams. None away, though. They didn't get any wins away from home. They had a positive record against the Welsh teams, 6-2. Positive record against the Italian teams, also 6-2. Remember, they played them more, being in the same conference. And then against the Irish teams, 3-5, which is actually the best of anyone going up against the Irish sides. That's one win and one fewer loss. One more win, one fewer loss from being an even record against the Irish sides, and the only non-Irish side to win on Irish soil, with Glasgow getting a away win over Munster. It was the only time a visiting side went to get an away win in Ireland. There's plenty of away wins in Ireland from the Irish teams. I think they went 50-50 with home and away. Most of these conferences, I think, pretty much were 50-50 home and away. Welsh sides against Welsh sides, South Africans against South Africans. It was a real flip of a coin to see if the home side or the away side would win. But getting away wins proved tricky in Ireland, but Glasgow were the one side who got that done. For the Welsh, it's not great reading. Again, none of their sides managed to get through to the knockout stages. They do have a positive record against the Italians with 5-3, but again, they're only one win or one loss away from that even being an even record. No away wins in Scotland. They went none from 4, but they did manage kind of 2 home wins. They did get 2 wins over Irish sides, which has been kind of tricky, seeing as all 4 Irish sides made the knockout stages. Cardiff beat Munster and the Dragons also beat Munster, but none of those wins were away. And then against the South African sides, interestingly, a bit of an improvement from last season. Last season, all up, the Welsh sides only had 2 wins against the South Africans. I mean, it's only 4 now, but 4 is better than 2. So it's still 4-11. There is 1 draw in there. The Stormers had a draw with the Ospreys. But, I mean, the Cardiff guys went to South Africa and got an away win, which was, I think, a first for any Welsh side in the URC. So a win in South Africa. So that's maybe an improvement in itself. Their record against the South African sides improved slightly, albeit still negative. That being said, their record against the Irish sides did get slightly worse. They had more wins against the Irish sides last season. For the South African sides, obviously we've got the Stormers hosting the final. Their record against the Irish sides is not as good as last year. Like, more Irish sides were able to go to South Africa and get wins this time. I mean, there are 2 draws, I should say, between the Irish and the South African sides, with the Stormers and Leinster having a 22-all draw, and the Munster and Sharks having a draw as well. That Stormers draw against Leinster was the closest any of the South African sides got to an away win in Ireland, because none of the wins for the South African sides amongst those three, none of them came away. They were all home wins. Great record over the Welsh, 11-4. I've mentioned that already. 100% record over the Italians, including 4 away wins, and then 6-2 over the Scots. So, like, apart from against the Irish, the South African team's record, even on the road, has been very good. Like, we often talk about the South African teams not being able to win on the road. Well, 2 away wins in Scotland, 4 away wins in Italy, 4 away wins in Wales, just none in Ireland. That's just proved a slightly trickier task. And then for the Irish, the other team, Munster, who will be in the final. Like I mentioned, a good record over South Africans, certainly better than last year. Certainly more away wins, which was something kind of, previously pretty hard to come by. Munster beat the Stormers, which is maybe that's something indicative of what may happen in the final. Obviously, it's going to be a different game. And Ulster beat both the Sharks and the Lions in their tour of South Africa, which was pretty impressive. I think Leinster won one, lost one. So, yeah, certainly the Irish sides managed to clock up more wins. I don't think Connacht managed it, but, certainly more wins down in South Africa. A couple of draws there as well. 14-2 over the Welsh sides, pretty dominant. 7-1 over the Italian sides, with just Ulster letting the side down there. And then, like I mentioned, the Scots, 5-3. It's a smaller sample size than against the Welsh or against the South Africans, but the kind of closest in terms of a proper arm wrestle. And as I mentioned, the only side to bag an away win in Ireland. So, yeah, clearly the Irish and the South African pools look really strong. The Scots and Italians are a bit harder to say because they're all kind of unnaturally clumped together, but that's just the nature of having to find the teams. And the Welsh sides, as I said, it's kind of not the prettiest reading, but if they can just take maybe one further step forward. We saw signs of it from the Scarlets this year. I think Cardiff finished with like a 50-50 record. The Ospreys would every now and again have a big game. So even the Dragons. So yeah, we will see. You guys let us know your thoughts. Any changes you'd like to see to the way the competition is structured. I know Connacht fans sometimes rue being in a pool with those 3 other teams, but they managed to get themselves through to a semi-final nonetheless. You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.